All right. I'd like to call the meeting of Canandaigua Town Board to order for March 21st, 2022. And I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And
under God, indivisible,
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
just for all.
Well, Jean, can you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Councilman Gary Davis,
Present.
Councilwoman Karen Benet,
Present.
Councilman Terry Fennelly,
Present.
Councilwoman Adeline Ruda,
Present.
Supervisor Gary.
Present. Jean, can you affirm that the meeting was properly advertised?
Yes, it was.
All right, thank you. We do have written communications that are in the agenda, and I believe the notebook binder should be working its way around. If you'd like to take a look at those. This does bring us to our first privilege of the floor for the evening. Is there anybody who would like to be heard at this time? All right, seeing no hands, that takes us to, we don't have any priority business, but we do have two presentations. We've got some special guests in the audience tonight. So first up, we have the Cheshire Volunteer Fire Department for their annual update. And I don't see Chief Brown, but I do see several representatives from the Cheshire Fire Department.
Good evening, all. My name is Rick Roxon, and I'm president of the Cheshire Volunteer Fire Department. With me this evening from the department, I have past chief and past chair of the board of directors, Jim Russell, past president and current vice president, my mentor, if you will, Bob Finger, and Glenn Zimmerman, current chair of our board of directors. Thank you for the opportunity to appear here this evening. The year 2020-21 represented an incredibly busy year for the Cheshire Volunteer Fire Department. Compared to 2020, our calls were up over 38%. We are an all volunteer department. We are your neighbors. We're here to serve you. We're here to assist 24/7, 365. We are the busiest volunteer fire department in Ontario County, and we take great pride in our effort to deliver the quality of services which we do. On average, the Cheshire Fire Department will have between 7 and 8 members show up on any call. The more significant the call, for example, structure fire, you're likely to see on average maybe 3 times that number. That may be during the day, during the evening, middle of the night, when most everyone else here is asleep. Chief accepted. That being said, year 2021 and going forward into 2022 is presenting our department with significant financial challenges. To address those challenges, we have continued to formulate a strategic plan, a plan that we believe will move us forward not only into 2022, but into the years that follow, mirroring the growth that the town of Canandaigua is experiencing. Growth not only from a population standpoint, but also from a structural standpoint, whether it's residential, commercial, or rural, as we may have it. We have also been working very hard. This is something which Glenn Zimmerman, in addition to our treasurer, Crystal Martin, have been working on with a committee, putting together a 10-year master plan to address not only our ability to meet the needs of the community, but also to manage our debt, acquire and maintain apparatus, our equipment, our turnout gear, which is growing incredibly and increasingly expensive, as well as managing our facilities, namely stations 1 and 2. As you're all aware, the Cheshire district is made up of not only residential and commercial, we also have agricultural as well as industrial facilities. And each of these different types of structures carries with it a combination of different needs in terms of from a firefighting standpoint. We also have within our district, as we all know, a large number of communities made up of, for those who are obviously needed assistance or are now in an assisted but independent living situation, multi-story facilities. To this board's credit, I think the community's credit at large, Canandaigua is a very desirable place to live. It's attracting a lot of people. It's keeping people here who might otherwise be leaving the area. I learned not all too long ago that of New York's 62 counties, there are only 2 which are experiencing growth, those being Ontario and Saratoga. And within the county of Ontario, it's our understanding that the town and city of Canandaigua are the 2 leaders in that growth. And with that growth comes challenges from a firefighting standpoint, and we need to be prepared as we move forward into 2022 and beyond to address those needs. In terms of our population growth, in reviewing recent town records, it's been determined that the average age of those 65 and older is going to increase by almost 20%. And a fact of life is that along with those increased numbers and increased calls are going to come increased EMS calls. Currently, our department responds to ALS calls, working closely with the Canandaigua Ambulance Squad. But when Canandaigua itself may be tapped out on different calls, the Cheshire Fire Department is there to respond as a priority as well. We're also very concerned with the growth in the community and what that means in terms of hydranted versus non-hydranted use. When we go south, typically Cheshire is bringing its own water in the form of tankers simply because there are not hydrants in that location. We're certainly encouraged that the newer development or the development that's being planned now will be providing for increased hydrants to assist us in our abilities here. Obviously, we're on a lake, and Canandaigua Lake, although seasonally used, although ice fishermen might dispute that, carries with it responsibilities for the department in terms of being able to respond to marine emergencies. I think in many ways, the last few years, we've been blessed by a lower number, but we've always got to be ready. And statistically, with the number of boaters who come to our area, we need to be prepared to respond as needed. The Cheshire Fire Department also gets very much involved in what are referred to as technical rescues. Rescues, say, at a non-park. If someone were to, say, experience a fall in a park, or perhaps in Grimes Glen over in the Naples area, we provide personnel for the rope team, which is engaged in responding to what are basically mutual aid type calls. When a call goes out for the rope team, not only is our department staffing the response, but there are quite a few other departments as well, but we play a very active role in that type of rescue, which does come up with some frequency. Also, mutual aid is a very big part of our operation. We work closely with all the local departments, and when calls come in, say from the Naples area or Bristol, East Bloomfield, we are toned out, we respond. And likewise, when we find that there's a need for additional manpower or equipment, those departments will respond as well. We have an aging fleet. We do our best to make them look as bright and shiny as possible. Big red trucks, everybody loves them, but the fact of the matter is that maybe in some ways like my own knees, they're getting a little bit old. Starting with our tanker, which is 27 years old. And then you can see as we go down the list, some of the more significant pieces of apparatus. 481, our ladder truck, is now 14 years old, and our two engines, 411 and 412, are 15 and 12 years old respectively. Why this is significant is that our fleet and its age and its performance is dictated by a national standard. The National Fire Protection Association has its own recommendations. And as you can see from that slide, there is a recommendation that after 12 years, apparatus is to be replaced. The exception being ladder trucks. You've seen them, they're the ones with the large boom on the front, being replaced at the 15-year age mark. And again, our aerial ladder 481 is now 14 years old. A ladder is not inexpensive. We're talking upwards of 800,000 minimum, up to $1 million, depending on how it's equipped. As I said at the outset and identified with pride, Cheshire is an all-volunteer fire department. We currently have 50 active firefighters, of whom 30 are at the basic level, 19 of whom are what are referred to at the firefighter 2 or interior, if you will, level. In addition to our firefighters, we have quite a number of emergency medical technicians or EMTs, as well as those who are cross-trained in special operations, cold water rescue, and the rope rescue that I mentioned earlier. In addition to those numbers, we have in 2021, we took on 3 new EMTs, new in terms of existing firefighters who went on their own to become EMTs. And then we also have a total of 9 of our existing firefighters who went on for additional training. Some of the training rather relates to those who just joined the department and are looking to basically get in on the ground level. Our current command staff is made up of Chris Brown, and he does send his apologies. I'm here in his place tonight. He had a work conflict, unfortunately, which arose late that he needed to tend to. He's a lot more handsome than I am, so you're stuck with me this evening, but he is our chief. We have as assistant chiefs, John Springer, Chris Milne, and Chuck Frieden. Our captains are Matt LaFave and KJ Miller. And for fire police, Brian Lyons and Ruth Outhouse. And our lieutenants are Justin Reeder, Matt Holbrook, Jareth Graves, Brendan Doherty, and Taylor Northrup. I can tell you, as one who joined the department fairly late, I turned 60 in July. I became interested in firefighter, becoming one, a long time ago, and sat on it until I was about 57. And then I went all in. And I can tell you that group is a tremendous resource, great mentors, and a lot of knowledge to share. In relating to the calls that we responded to in 2021, you can read them yourselves. You can see that the number of active fires decreased slightly from 2020 to 2021, although it had increased from 2019. A very significant number of calls were related to motor vehicle accidents and emergency medical support numbers. You see how we had 322 in 2021 compared to 215 in 2020 and only 167. And I put only that in quotes in 2019. But we also had a significant number of other calls, hazardous conditions, calls for service, what are referred to as false alarms, kind of a misnomer. Whether we don't know it's a false alarm when the call comes in, like one did at 6 a.m. today. We go gung-ho, and we might find out upon arriving that it was an alarm for which, fortunately, there was no further response needed. But when the tones drop, the calls come in, we don't know it's a false alarm. We're responding as if it's the worst. It's an active fire, say, for example. And those numbers, as you can see, increased significantly from 2020. There were other responses for severe weather, special incidents. But as you can see, the takeaway is that from 2020 to 2021, our numbers increased approximately 38%. The next slide shows a breakdown in our actual fire responses, or EMS, or emergency responses. The number of structure fires in our district was up slightly from 2020. The number of motor vehicle accidents that we responded to in 2021 compared to 2020 nearly doubled. So too went up the number of EMS responses, and you can see the breakdown. Again, the bottom line point I want to emphasize is that the numbers went up very significantly, more than a third from 2020 to 2021. And we expect that trend to follow, not because we're expecting more fires and more accidents, but our population numbers are increasing. And it just follows logically that with those increases in numbers, so too are going to be the numbers of increases in calls. The Cheshire Fire Department takes a tremendous amount of pride in its independence and its ability to live within our budget. But we also are going to need assistance to meet the growing needs of our community. We're very concerned with balancing income with expenses. We have, as I said at the outset, set up a very in-depth strategic plan to not only address the short-term needs, but also the long-term needs to meet the community's needs. Again, our primary needs include managing our existing debt, managing our fleet, our equipment, and our facilities. It's hard to believe for me sometimes to remember that we are made up of volunteers, given the commitment that the members of our department, not only the three others who are present with me this evening, but so many who, it's a Monday night, it's a training night, they're over there giving up their time from their families to improve their own performance on the fire ground. Such is the commitment that this department brings every day, every night to help all of us out. Just in closing, I'd like to say that we've learned a lot from 2021 in terms of the increased numbers that we can expect. But we're not looking to run from it. We're not looking to put it on to anyone else. We're willingly accepting the challenges. I think the makeup of the type of person who joins our department. We are your neighbors. We're here to help you in your greatest hours of need. We know that frequently when we're in the community on a call, we're seeing our neighbors at most likely one of the worst moments they might ever be experiencing. We take great pride in doing our job well and bringing comfort to them, doing so not thumping our chest, but because we want to help the community. We're your neighbors. We're here to help you. And we greatly appreciate the time that you've given us this evening. I'll gladly answer any questions any members of the board might have.
Was that the complete, that's not the complete list of equipment, just.
Apparatus, just the major
I mean,
components
more
of
than
it.
that.
What's that?
There's more pieces of equipment than.
Well,
listed, or is that
That's
the entire list?
That's generally the list. Our boat was not listed on there, but our engines and our ladder and our primary support vehicles are listed on there. Right. Thank you.
Well, I have to thank you because in the past couple of years, I've had the occasion to have to call an emergency squad for my wife to have her taken into the hospital of Thompson. And each time that we've had to do that, I live out to the very end of the Cheshire Road. A whole bunch of guys showed up from Cheshire too, you know, which was very much appreciated. So you guys do a great job.
Glad to be there.
I
Thank
really
you very much.
appreciate it. So,
I will second that. I have also experienced throughout my life several times an interaction with the Cheshire Fire Department. And most recent one was when my family was one of your motor vehicle accidents on the corner of 5 and 20 in Middle Cheshire there. And the car came on fire and you helped to rescue my husband and my then 8th grade daughter and her cello from the vehicle. And all were very safe and very thankful for that. So thank you.
Well, and we'd all like to thank you for your time and your service. I haven't seen it. I haven't been involved, but living on Cooley Road, I've seen plenty of your actions on a very frequent basis. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I would also like to say I'm impressed with the Cheshire Fire Department as well as the Canandaigua, because they are always there shortly after any accident or anything major happens that they're called out for. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you, everyone. All right, Chief, you're up. Do the handoff.
Tough act to follow. Much of what I say is really going to echo what the Cheshire Fire Department's going through.
But yours is red.
Ours is red, and it is a little longer. I'm going to take you through every page. You guys feel free to read it. I went through it. I'm here to answer your questions, but I'll give you a very, very high level kind of overview of 2021. Like Cheshire, like much of the departments across the country, this was our busiest year on record, our 200+ year history. We responded between the city and the town district to 2184, so 2,184 calls for service in 2021. That was about a 30% increase from last year. Last year, we were right around 1,700 calls. As we continue a 10-year trend that we've been tracking, I've been here for 5 years, and every year we've been exceeding that level of service every year. Again, not only just calls for emergency medical services, but as well as rescue type incidents. Motor vehicle accidents. Matter of fact, I just saw Mr. Fletcher a few minutes ago. I had a wreck at Sand Hill and Emerson for a 2-car motor vehicle accident. So we have a few trouble areas that you guys are obviously looking into right now, currently in our district, that is responsible for the 42 accidents we had in the town last year. Town incidents only, we responded to 505 calls. Majority of our district is either agricultural or commercial for now. I've seen concept plans. I'm excited for the growth coming up in the uptown area. And we're preparing for that. Going through just kind of like I said, a high level summary. We responded to 20 fires. 7 of those were confined cooking fires. So again, cooking tends to be the #1 cause for fires nationwide. And we continuously send out our community risk reduction program, as well as our fire prevention experts to schools and community organizations to kind of teach that, teach cooking safety, fire safety in the home. And we discussed the 42 motor vehicle accidents, 297 EMS incidents. Much like Cheshire, we respond to ALS criteria only calls, the more serious type of medical calls, unless the ambulance is very, very busy, which tends to be the case. EMS in our county as well as surrounding counties is to its max. So they are running nonstop. That's putting a big drain on the entire 911 system. So we respond to a lot of BLS calls that we normally don't go to, but again, if there's a 20-minute delay or a longer delay for an ambulance to get there, we'll first respond. And again, there's a few slides on for notable incidents. We had a structure fire at on North Road over the summer, RZA Road. Again, we were able to respond to these with our career staff 24/7. We typically have 3 firefighters on duty 24/7. We were fortunate enough to hire 3 within the last few weeks. So now our staffing is up to 16, including myself. And I'm not sure where you are. Sorry. You're fine, I'm just kind of bouncing around. So all of our career staff are EMTs, except for one captain who kind of falls into both criteria, but we even just hired a paramedic, so we're augmenting all of our staff to a higher level of emergency care. Our volunteers, they stay active. We only have a handful, 7 active right now, most of our exterior, but that to us is one of the most important functions of the fire ground. That way, our career responding engines and ladder companies are going to work and they have people outside hooking up hydrants, setting up ladders, getting all support services out there for our staff. So that definitely helps. And we are always looking for new volunteers and constantly trying to get that. Just kind of just to wrap up, I don't guess with the agenda. Again, our firefighters are around at the time of the call. So as soon as the call comes out, our career staff is out the door immediately. We typically have about a 3.5 minute response time to anywhere in our district. There's a couple areas that might be a little longer, a minute longer, would be about the Town Line Road and some of our newer districts required from the Bloomfield district. But we've done time trials, we've done test runs, we had a couple calls out there where we could meet that within a 5 to 6 minute at most, depending on weather and traffic. So it's a very, very good response time to all of our districts in the town. We typically have 3 firefighters on duty. There's some anomalies that, vacation sick, I might have 2, but those days are pretty much over with. And we schedule 3 firefighters on duty. If not, the morning we had a fire at the Creekview Apartments, we had 5 firefighters on duty. I just happened to have those firefighters scheduled. And we did not need to call in overtime. We did not need to call mutual aid. We were able to put the fire out relatively quickly and hold everything to those on duty crews without causing any overtime to the city, as well as bother any of the volunteer departments or the surrounding areas. Any questions so far? No. Just kind of looking ahead. Much like other departments, our fleet is aging. We purchased a new ladder truck last year. We were supposed to take delivery this month, but it's been pushed off now till August. Supply chain issues. At one time it was rear ends, motor parts. Now it's wiring harnesses. Right now we have a somewhat firm date for August. Not holding my breath because we're not sure what's going to happen, but that will replace our 2006 Rosenbauer 104-foot power truck, which is one of our most important trucks in the fleet. So we have a lot of large buildings, high rises, 6-story buildings in the district that we need the truck for. Currently, we are speccing 2 engines and heavy rescue just for further years ahead, just because of the lead times. We're trying to get the engineering up the door, ready to go. Should be able to get funding or some other opportunity to purchase new engines. Our fleet is relatively new. We're fortunate to use our city DPW for all our maintenance. They currently have some very, very skilled mechanics to keep our fleet afloat. So we're fortunate enough in that regard, but we are looking ahead and replace one engine that is a 2003 that has exceeded its lifespan for a frontline engine. And our most newest engine is 2017, looking to move that to reserve and put a new engine in the front line. Last year, I was very fortunate enough to have the city council and mayor and city manager provide us with some new equipment. We purchased all brand new radios. We have new portable radios to better communicate on the fire ground. When I first got here, I was only here for 5 years. They were using a 2 portable system. So it was very dangerous on the fire ground. They were using a UHF channel for a fire ground and talking to dispatch on another radio. As you can imagine, fire scenes get pretty hectic. You don't really want to listen to 2 frequencies, so we consolidated into 1. So it's a lot safer for us, as well as we communicate quickly with our mutual aid partners or 911. We purchased some new rope equipment, confined space equipment. We are the technical rescue team for the county for confined space. We're the only confined space rescue team in the county. Much like Cheshire does, we do rope rescue. We have 2 members on the rope team. We do collapse rescue. We're pretty much an all hazards department. Really no longer, city manager and I, we discussed changing the name to fire rescue or no longer fire departments because we were going on so many more things than just fires. So we do ice water rescue. We just got a dozen of our members certified in your state with surface water rescue technicians. So we're working with the lifeguards at Kershaw Beach and other areas that we protect them on a lake for that type of rescue situation. A few days ago, we just applied for a grant to augment our community risk reduction program. And as I discussed before, adult education program. ARP has a grant out there that we're hoping to secure. That way we can purchase pamphlets on adult independent living centers that we have in our district about fire safety, cooking safety, provide them with hearing impaired smoke alarms that currently we don't get from the Red Cross through our partnership with them because they're quite expensive. They're about $100 to $150 a unit. I reached out to the school district, worked with them to see if there's any hearing impaired children in the school district to kind of lump that into a program. So I'm hoping to hear back in a month or two whether we secure that or not. But either way, we're constantly going out and teaching, fire safety to civic organizations, the schools, and other populations. And in closing, we've been working with a lot of local industry, active acoustics. We're doing site tours, meeting with key members of their teams to kind of familiar ourselves with, excuse me, their operations, and then so they can understand our operations should we have emergencies. Our department has flipped. We have a lot of newer firefighters that really haven't been in some of these, buildings to meet with these people or know what their operation is. So it's good for us to pre-plan, document what's the hazards, know what equipment we need in the future, and obviously build that relationship with them. So we're looking forward to strengthening those relationships and the years ahead. That's pretty much what I have. But I just want to thank my staff as well as our volunteers. Again, 24/7, they're making the call. Our volunteers are stepping up for all hours of the day. So going through from the pandemic to now the other crisis that we're having in the communities. So it's a big thank you to my staff as well as thank you to the city as well for the constant support. We look forward to our continued partnership and move into the future. Any questions?
Just wondering, the increase in calls, about 400 from year to year. Rick was talking about increased EMS calls also. Is some of that due to through the pandemic, do you think, or any analysis been done, or the population's aging?
There is. I mean, the mean age just from the census alone is over 60. In our communities really. And I think it was ARP or one of the other senior magazines, voted Canada with the best place to retire. So yeah, that is part of an aging population, as well as it's hard to tell. Part of the COVID pandemic, there's a lot of COVID breathing calls or some other elements with it, and sometimes they are COVID positive, and we mark that in our fire and EMS reports. But really, that data, I have not really researched much of it. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure probably by this time next year, our report will be able to reflect that data. But what we're seeing is a lot of, it's a wide range of different calls. We get a lot of overdoses from drug use. We get a lot of, trouble breathing calls from COVID, seizures, some other types of, calls that seem to be very repetitive or going through the same types of residents or apartment buildings. So what we call a lot of frequent flyers. It's hard to kind of look at that data, but I'm sure we'll crunch that for next year for you to see if COVID really is a.
It's just interesting. You called fire, as you said, call the fire department, but.
Well, that's it, we get it a lot, it's like, well, I call an ambulance, why the fire truck pull up, and it's a good question, why are you spending an expensive piece of equipment to an EMS call? Well, it's surprising enough that a lot of times when we get there, there might be a gas odor. We carry carbon monoxide detectors on our EMS bags, and sometimes that call for I feel sick is carbon monoxide poisoning. So we're there with our tools immediately. And in my experience, I've been a firefighter, not just in this area, but for 20+ years. I've actually responded to an EMS call, and I'm coming back, caught a car fire, or caught a different fire. And if you look in our report, 30% of our calls are overlapping calls. It's a concerning number. A third of our calls, for almost 2,200 calls, are overlap. So that's why it was important when we had a discussion about Station 2 and Station 1, keeping everything staffed, is because we could pull resources where it's needed. We might be able to free up with, one of the trucks on a certain call and then go to another one. That way we're able to cover, all of our calls. We're very fortunate enough that, we recall a lot of our staff to cover once we're at calls if we're on a long duration event, such as fire or car accidents and like that. Excuse me. So we're watching the 17 calls, that's one of the reasons why we bring those big trucks to those calls, is because we have our tools there, we're ready to go.
Plus you have somebody who's trained to tend to the situation.
Correct. Yeah, so we're all hazards, so we train, every day or every shift day, and every Thursdays.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for the support.
So Chief, you mentioned, and I think I got the number right here. So your EMS calls, you have 1,015 roughly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not testing you.
Oh, no,
Or maybe I am. Do you know about what percentage of those are, because you mentioned the overdose and the opioid, do you know roughly, could you do a ballpark, what percentage?
For the opioid?
Of the EMS, because I'm assuming those are under EMS or emergency medical service, other.
So these numbers come from what's called our National Fire Risk Reporting System. These are the fire reports that we send to the state. Any of the granular detail on EMS calls or have to go into our EMS charts program. And again, I have not really.
Pulled that out of there.
I mean, I can if that's something.
No, I was just, if you had it, I was just curious.
I can certainly break that down.
What's your guess?
I would say it's low compared to the overall amount of ALS calls that we run. Obviously, any overdose is an issue, and we do have our trouble spots, in the town and the city. But if I gave it a percentage of overall calls, I would say it's probably about 5% of the calls. So it's significant in itself. It's a problem, and I know that our partners in law enforcement and social services are really kind of trying to handle that. And we're just kind of there on the back end.
So being kind of one of the newer people on town board, just a question, who responds if there is a fire on a boat or an issue on the lake? Is it both departments?
So that's a good question. So on record, we have a large portion of the lake. The majority, as you guys know, it's Kershaw. We go all the way down the Gorham side, obviously, go over to the Gorham line, to pretty much the center of the lake. At one time, we went pretty much the whole lake. But right now, there is a lack of fire protection on the water. I know Cheshire has an inflatable raft or a boat, 16 years, that they're going to respond, their area. We typically have a partnership with the marinas to commandeer some of their boats. Or get on a sheriff's boat for right now. We've been looking at unique ways to fund a boat just for our area, because we typically get about a dozen water related calls a year. Whether it's, and it's not really ever during the peak season, the 4th of July, or, there's some problems, but nothing major. It's usually when the sheriff's boats are in storage, when there's nobody in the marina, all of the boats, but you get water that's like today. We really have no way to get there other than hopefully there's somebody on the water or the marinas are just starting to get boats. So we've been looking into some unique funding grants. Unfortunately, a boat is a very low priority grant compared to all the needs of the rest of the country. But that is one of, it's a it's a low frequency event, but very high risk.
Mhm. And the other question I had is, I mean, for either department, really, have you had any issues with water supply for the fires? Or is there a good supply when you're using obviously public water?
Right, typically the majority of our area is public water. Obviously some of the newer district, you know, the newer road area, excuse me, and there's some pockets of hill that are lacking. I've updated our mutual aid box alarm assignments for those areas, so should we get a structure fire in those areas that are lacking, we're gonna request a tanker from Cheshire, Bloomfield, Farmington, Shortsville, whoever we need that to augment us. Plus our trucks carry right around 600 gallons on it, depending on which one comes. And that's something that we're looking to in our newer engines, that maybe we do spec it with more hose, more water for some of those areas, or, you know, work with you all on what's the overall plan of, are those eventually gonna get, you know, service, which I imagine they probably would over time, you know.
Are you getting enough pressure in the areas that are?
We have not had any pressure with,
Okay.
with water supply at all. Knock on wood.
Yes,
That's
that's
it
what
right
I was
now,
just
but
wondering.
no, majority of what we look to in the town area, most notably, we had a fire on Kennedy with Farmington Town Line Road. It was an attic fire. Again, we were fortunate to have 4 firefighters on duty. Kept the small fire small, put the hydrant, and we really need to throttle up our, you know, our engine to get and pressure the line because we get back to pressure on that. So thank you for that.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, well, speaking for the board, we thank you for your service and for the care that you give to the residents of the town, whether they're traveling through the city or whether they live in the town. We definitely appreciate all that you do for us.
Thank you for
Thank you so
having
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you want to sneak, the rest gets pretty boring. I don't know if you want to sneak out or not.
You're not.
We're not gonna, yeah, we're not giving you the easy out, the option.
Thank you.
So you don't have to awkwardly
Your
kind of
time
sneak
is
out.
important.
See ya.
Thank you,
No,
everyone.
you have to stay and just bring up pictures.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Karen could probably take it.
All right. All right. So this brings us to our continued public hearing. Continued public hearing on the text code amendment for Town Code Chapter 174-19. So I know that there's a note on there that we will be pulling that amendment, that resolution, but we'll be tabling it, but we still need to continue the public hearing and close the public hearing. So can I get a motion to continue to re-enter the public hearing?
Second.
Made and seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any comment as part of the public hearing?
Yes. Would you explain again what the double frontage? Give me an example, please.
So an example of a double frontage lot would be if you have a home and you have a road that goes in on both sides of your home. So think of, you see them a lot more in the city, the uptown area would probably have some more of those. So if you have like a front yard, backyard, for example,
Yeah.
so you couldn't go and you couldn't exit, and not only is he an attorney, artist, but he's an artiste.
Road, there's your house.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Right.
Oh, okay.
So if you were on Overlook, if somebody on Overlook wanted to exit onto Buffalo Street Extension, that would technically be considered a double frontage lot, because they're sitting on Overlook, they're sitting in the old Brookside development, and their backyard might butt up to Buffalo Street Extension. So an example like that.
But it does not take into account a corner lot that has a road frontage and a side road frontage. And then they put up, you know, of course, their driveway comes off the main road. And then they put up an accessory unit, like a barn, where the entrance faces the other road.
And I was,
in the town of Canandaigua, they're not allowed to put in a second driveway. Am I correct in thinking that?
I have to check, yeah, the second off of that other.
Yeah, they can.
Right. So to have two on the, to have two on the two different roads,
They
you are
can't,
correct.
they cannot.
Right.
do-
You are correct.
But a lot are here. That doesn't mean they don't
Right.
exist.
Right.
There are ones that have been there for
Existing.
50 years.
Yeah, I understand them being
Any-
grandfathered in, but.
Any new,
But can they go to, for example, the zoning board of appeals and get that second entrance and the zoning board, the
They could.
CBA will give that to them
the ZBA,
without a hearing from the other residents?
So they would absolutely have to be, we notify residents and advertise it. Off the top of my head, John, chip in here, maybe one in the past 4 or 5 years.
I think we've had 2 in the last year.
Oh, well,
And did you give them the ability to put in the second entrance?
You're testing my memory now, but I believe we've had 3 requests in the last 2 years, in the last year or two. And we've granted 2 of 3, if I'm not mistaken.
But you do notify the surrounding homeowners to attend that
Absolutely.
particular.
absolutely.
because that would require a hearing because you're changing
Yeah,
existing
okay.
zoning for that. Yes,
I understand it now.
Yep.
Thank you.
so you bet, good questions. All right, with that, now you threw me off my game, Karen. So we are in the public hearing, but that's
It
good,
was a ploy.
but that's good. Yeah, I'm just- yeah.
Yeah, so any other.
So we're in the public hearing. Any other public comment? All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, we're exiting public hearing. All right, we don't have any new public hearings, but we do have reports from the town officials and department heads. So Jim, do you have anything additional for us?
That's for my budget, just wanna give it word that the finance meeting I discussed. the Price of asphalt, pipe and equipment, and if things continue the way they are, we might be at $80 a ton next month for asphalt. I do know that the state has not passed their budget yet, and there may be additional funding. We have budgeted conservatively, not anticipating that money, but we still may get some additional money from the federal state government. As I mentioned before, there's a couple of roads that have a lot of failure this year due to the winter. The soil or Whitefish Road next week. I know what's going on underneath there, to determination of what the ground conditions are. And come up with a plan to fix that. We already know about Acorn Hill, it's junk, so. We've already done soil cores on that. I'll have to come back to the board with a better idea in April, when we get the new index. Okay. Right now, there's not much we can do at this point, because nothing's open to try and beat the price on the oil and asphalt, and the same goes for trucking. And the same goes for, we use basic plastic in our asphalt to help hold it together in cold winter, and that's also up about $3 a ton right now. So, we're sending out many letters to residents who have 10-year-old meters or 700,000 gallons or more. 13 years ago, I replaced, the town replaced a few thousand meters. It's time to replace the batteries and those. They're not replaceable. Okay, the batteries are inside like a sealed unit. So we're working on doing that, and we're also working with the city on our going out the bid for our materials to try and get a larger quantity to hopefully store a lower cost.
Water meters or?
No, fire hydrants, brass fittings, saddles, those types of things, to try and have a larger quantity to get a better price, instead of being going out by 12, maybe by 36. So
And then where's asphalt right now?
right now it's 70 a ton.
Yeah, which is when you're talking, that's
It's 15 more a ton than they're paying last year.
15%. Okay. And I know the same thing with gasoline discussions today,
Yeah.
going from bulk buy from 280, it's now up to 320 or 340.
Yes, we're paying more than we have in the past. I'm hoping by a stroke of luck September, and we'll see where we're at. Then we can review the budget then. So it's early yet in budget, but we're not worried about how low we might be on something.
What was asphalt at last year when you were? planning?
68, I'm sorry, 58.
58, okay.
You can't buy ahead, you can't.
Can't buy ahead. So, you know, we will have to do that.
It's not gonna be 70 when you're buying.
It may be 75.
It's gonna be more.
Yeah, I mean, it's. So. We're gonna do what we can right out of the gate on Town Line Road, can go farm to Town Line Road to finish that. And then we'll go and look at the other roads.
How many tons do you buy a year?
Well, depending on the price, you know, I like to do about 6,000 to 7,000 ton. So,
Well, definitely unprecedented times, and we appreciate your work, and also those have to be nimble, which is the key word a lot of people are using, nimble going forward. Which isn't a word that I can use for myself, because I'm not very nimble, but as a whole, we're nimble, right, Terry?
Got to do with that candlestick. something over there.
Jump, yeah, there's no nimble stick, none of that going on.
Jim, how'd you do
Jack
on
on the
salt?
board.
we're about average right now for what we spent for last year, this year. So we haven't exceeded. And we have a decent amount in this barn, as long as April behaves, we'll be okay.
Does salt carry over to another year?
No, we'll start a new salt runs from May 1st to April 31st through the state contract.
Okay.
Because they have to, we'll have to do a report, I'm sorry, we have to say how much we'll buy, so they know how much to mine over the summer and ready for winter.
Okay.
What do you do with the leftovers?
That's what I'm saying, does it
Well, if
last?
we
or
don't,
again?
if we take less than 70% of the salt, they charge us, I think it's $12 a ton store. They whack you pretty hard. That's the OGS agreement. So you take at least 70% of your allotment every year, regardless if you gotta shove it in a barn or some neighboring barn. So you don't gotta pay.
It'll last.
So.
Oh, okay, that was our.
Yeah, that's, I'm
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a 70.
You know, we all gonna have
It's all
different soup or.
I'm like.
Yeah, no, they cover with big tarp this summer.
Yeah, it
That's all.
doesn't.
But every municipality has to use 70% of what they're, you have to buy 70% of your allotment.
Huh.
So.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, I do not see our assessor on at this time, and I do not see our historian with us. Jean,
I have nothing further. Thank you.
okay. Shauna,
Should I come up to that?
sure.
My first meeting in person, I think.
This is exciting.
Indeed, yeah.
Kidding.
There's two things I wanted to mention tonight. And one, just to give you a heads up that Lamar's digital signs will be under construction in June into July. So we are gearing up to submit or come up with a plan for submission, because we have 168 hours of time to advertise. So we're gonna come up with a strategy on how we're gonna do that, and we need a bunch of lead time, and so I just wanted to put that out on your radar in case you also see starting to work on this. I don't know if this is on.
Any town board suggestions should go to Doug for that?
What are we advertising?
We, as the town, have space for our Parks and Rec events, highway, transfer station hours, town board meetings, planning board, those kind of things, but we can also open it up to the fire department. We have to just kind of, and I think that there's been discussion about,
Types of things. that we would
yes,
want
I
for
believe
calendar,
Chris has
yeah.
mentioned.
I don't know that there has been specific.
We haven't
I
had any
been
specific
involved.
discussion now.
Okay, that might be something we need to discuss. How much do we want to open it up? So
This is
could
how
be
it
Pandora's
scrolls
box.
through.
Now we have different town board members. I just adjust on them.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Can you maybe,
So I'm not, I watched some of the discussions,
we
but
can have,
Go ahead, Chris.
maybe you can send a summary to the board members to say,
Sure.
we have this many hours plus this many backup.
So,
You
yeah,
know,
so,
if they haven't sold a space, they should go.
so out of the
Yes, okay.
agreement, as part of the agreement, they gave us X amount of time on there.
Oh,
And we
It's
can
24
also,
days.
right, and also, because, their calendar, their cycles run a little differently. They've got like a 3-week or whatever their advertising time frame is. If they have open time periods that are not filled, they will open those up. If we have something extra, then we can jump in. But we are allowed, specifically allowed, and this was an item of a lot of discussion, X number of slots within the advertising
and remind me, the
period.
signs are over by Raymore and Flanagan Plaza and,
coming in
Coming into
south
town
on 332.
okay,
You know, one, if they have an unsold spot, I
It will
think the plan
default.
was to say, welcome to Canada
Yeah.
or
Right.
something. But obviously, the town board.
oh, we
is
could
the
say
ultimate
something
call
else.
on what it's-
Yeah.
So
I
if
will
you
put
have
something
thoughts,
together.
email Doug.
And we can discuss.
We will, the development office will be coordinating the signage and,
Okay.
you know, we'll be the liaison to Lamar.
Okay, and we can put that out to committees as well.
Mhm.
Committees can should have that on their agendas to discuss and brainstorm events and dates that they would like to have on there.
I did the other, it's my letter C here. The joint meeting of the boards hasn't really happened since pre-COVID. And I wanted to mention that and get some feedback if the boards are interested.
Could
the town board is
you,
interested.
I personally, speaking for myself, I think it's a great idea and something that we've been talking about for quite a bit. Could you get some dates that might work
I
and
absolutely
see.
can.
and we can kind of hash it out that way and find a common date that would work for the boards on that?
Okay, are we thinking May? Or do you want me to work in April? What are your thoughts on that?
Do you usually do them evening or day or?
I haven't been part of them before.
Usually they've been
Are they evening?
Evenings, I
They've
would
been
say,
evenings in the past, but
yeah,
you know,
I think that would be,
I think you could get some attendance in the day.
Mhm.
I'd,
Eating better.
yeah, even,
I
I'd
was
shoot,
also think, I'm
oh,
sorry.
I would shoot for May, my own personal opinion, just because of, we're gonna be in April before we know it.
Right,
Shoot for May.
You also have the training in April.
Yeah.
right,
I
we do
don't
have
think you're gonna
that.
get attendance.
So assuming that we are not hybrid anymore in April, past April 14th. I just was gonna throw it out there. What if we did it at Ononda or did something nice?
Sometime in June.
Yeah, late May,
Classic.
early
So if,
June.
yeah, so if we do it on Nanda, I'd suggest a little later, like Gary said, yeah,
Yeah, before school's out.
I don't know about May.
Programs.
Before school's out, before the kids get there. Okay,
Crouch Hall would work out well for the strategic plan.
Crouch Hall was good.
Yeah.
The acoustics were a little off.
They are,
but we
okay.
can check it out.
Gorham Hall is probably a little better, 6 wise too. but
Is Gorham the one with the
That's
kitchen?
the one with the kitchen.
Okay. So early June.
Perfect, thank you so
May I
much.
be excused?
Yes.
Okay, like the fire.
Like the, yeah, you have permission to not have to sneak out.
You gotta take a vote on.
All right, HR, parks, and
Bye.
computer and mouse operator for tonight.
I have nothing further
Okay.
unless there's questions.
No? Anything? Okay, thank you. All right,
Mr. Finch,
Does she count as our
Passes.
extension
Yes.
town manager as well tonight, or?
no, we'll skip over, yeah, we had some good presentations, we'll skip over that. All right, supervisor, deputy supervisor, overtime and financial reports are in the agenda for your review. All right, committees, boards and commissions, finance, I have nothing to bring up at this point, finance. Planning, Councilman Finley.
A couple of things. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago here. Public Works Committee, and our discussion on sanitary sewer and County Road 28. Greg's up there muted, I think, maybe. Anyway, he informed us that county has some more questions regarding County Road 28 sewer potential project as it relates to Uptown. So
we decided that probably the best thing to do is to pause for now until we can get some more answers on that. But it might be a good idea to create a capital project, to just set up a line item in the budget so that once we do get into something, we'll have a place to park any expenses and such. Let's see, there are a couple of resolutions on the agenda tonight, one dealing with transfer station planning. We asked MRB to take a look at some pre-planning work, do some concept work for us to look at, what the potential building might look like, and to do some survey work over in the area that we have to the east of town hall here, which is where it would be, the new facility would be located, you say. And there is that proposal to act on tonight. We do have, it does, in the resolution, it does say that, I think it's $36,000, 36.5. Take it from contingency, but I talked to Kate today because we do have quite a bit of money put away in transfer station reserve, almost $1 million.
I see.
And she said, yeah, that's, we don't need to deal with that tonight, but just.
What do you want to?
Well, we can amend that. We could amend the resolution.
And then go back.
If we're feeling that, we could amend the resolution.
No, I wouldn't, because she said there's some, I don't understand all the accounting lingo, or she said there are other expenses that we're going to be taking this year for some of the equipment, some was budgeted and some wasn't.
Oh, we had
So-
a expensive factory fair.
Yeah.
in that one.
So we're probably gonna have to tap that reserve in order to not hit the contingency for other. So I said, why don't you just leave it alone for now? After the fact, we can go back and reverse things out. So she's one that doesn't work for us.
Okay.
Oh, it doesn't bind them either.
Okay.
It says that's the
No.
town staff's recommendation.
I
So
was-
they can do
I'm
something
just pointing it
different.
out that we do have a considerable amount of money put away
We do.
for this project. So, and it's legitimate, it's a legitimate expense planning for that
Yeah.
facility. So, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you. All right, ordinance, Councilman Davis. Hold on, you're muted.
Oh,
You're back on.
okay. Yes, we have our next meeting on April 7th. Hopefully, we can finalize the code that we're proposing for cemeteries and get it to the town board.
Okay,
That's it.
all right, thank you, Gary.
Thanks.
All right, economic development, I do not see Sana or anyone here. All right, planning, Chairman Wheeler, I do not see him as well. Nor do I see ZBA. UCB,
Yes, so there's going to be a resolution coming up. We are going to have a new board member for the Environmental Conservation Board, Megan Miller. So you'll see that coming up there. Happy to have some new faces and a youthful look. With she has an environmental degree as well. So
okay, fantastic.
great addition.
All right, CIC, Shauna got out of here just in time for that one, so we'll skip that one. Parks and Rec, Mr. McNeil.
Really not a whole lot new to report. Our last meeting, our February meeting, Lindsay talked a lot about the start of the recreation programming. So that was kicked off, the catalog was released for the summer. The signups have started, for all the programming. So most of our meeting was spent with listening to the presentation from MRB. So that's probably going to be one of our big things. MRB is looking at improvements for the uplands. So that'll be on our agenda Wednesday night of this week. So I think a lot of us kind of have questions in our own minds of where that would head, and take a look at the plan before we move forward to the board with that presentation. So really that's our big thing going into 2022. The other thing that I spoke about, those of you that were at the March 1st meeting, two things that our group really thinks are priorities heading into 2022. One is any local work that can be done on the Auburn Trail. That really has been hanging out there a lot. I know Sarah's doing a lot with that. There's the two groups that are working on the Brickyard section. Close to the airport, and then the other side of Yerkes Road. So, but anything that you know can be done, and anytime there's any local work or ways that we can move ahead with that on our own would be appreciated from the Parks and Rec Committee. Long road, it's going to be years and years to make the connection all the way to you know, Farmington Town Line Road, but you know, hopefully little pieces at a time, you know, would be appreciated. The other priority item that I keep bringing up, and I think it's partly the overworked Lindsay speech that I give, but we do hope that the town board could consider any opportunity to find someone to take on a Parks and Rec dedicated role, somebody that you know has the time during their day to really be dedicated and a professional background in Parks and Recreation Management to facilitate some of the things that Lindsay's trying to do on the side. And, you know, we're working with Heather from the city, but I think to really have a program that takes off and you know, expands and flourishes, I think we would need somebody, you know, at least initially someone part-time with experience and background and dedicated time to, you know, for the program to take off. So that's kind of my 2022 pitches right there. So.
All right, thank you. What are you doing on July 1st?
Well, that would be my first day of retirement.
Okay, this one. All right, thanks, Mark. Special events. See Arizona. And Ag Committee, I do not see Chairman Carl here. Okay, that takes us to the next privilege of the floor.
If I may speak.
Yes. Oh,
She's first.
Jean and then Karen.
She's more
Okay.
important. Not really. A couple of weeks ago, this is in support of the living. Let's see, maybe that Karen's chairing. Affordable housing.
She has so many of them. I'm not
In
sure.
regards to the affordable housing committee that our town is going forward with. A couple of weeks ago, I had an elderly couple come in. They live out at Center Point. Their rent is going up $200 a month. So Doug and I were talking to them. We referred them over to Creekview. Creekview has 75 to 100 people on their wait list. So they're out probably a couple of years. Conifer Apartments, they have another real long wait list. We suggested Quail Summit because we heard they had a couple of rooms that are based upon income. Over $4,000 a month.
Oh,
So the affordable housing really is a true need in our town. And it was heartbreaking to send those people out the door with really no answers. So I'm in full support of affordable housing because I see people, not every day, but a few times a year. I had a couple people, an elderly couple come in a couple years ago to pay their taxes and just wanted to pay a little bit every couple of weeks or a little bit each month. And I had to say no, because it's either the installment, you pay half in January and the other half by March 31st. He goes, well, I guess I'll tell my family that we have to sell our house. So again, it's heartbreaking. So there is truly a need out there for affordable housing. And I just want to let you know I fully support it. And just wanted to share with you that experience that Doug and I had a couple of weeks ago. So
If you have their name, email it to me.
I don't, that's one thing I didn't get. I didn't get their name, but they are out at Center Point and so.
And the rent went, I know the rent went up, and I know that they're probably not the only couple, because I've heard from several at Center Point also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Karen.
Actually, I wasn't even going to bring that up. I'm going to bring up the sound system, because all of you are really difficult to hear in here tonight. So Shauna, who normally speaks kind of loud, the only one that was really penetrating was the Cheshire Fire Department guy.
Rick.
The other two faded in and out. All of you faded in and out. And so, you know,
Lindsay, do you know,
Either
do we have
do something or
speakers
tell me I'm
going?
going deaf.
Or-
So there's speakers with us speaking, and then anyone from, say, Zoom is what you'll hear through the main speaker.
Okay.
Now, I
But-
know that the judges use
Source of
microphones.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it picking us up and projecting, if we're in the room, is it projecting us within the room?
So,
No.
so I think that part of the problem is going with this new system. We've lost the individual microphones
Yes,
that
I know.
amplify it through the room. And then, yeah, I mean, the mic that picks us up, it does. I mean, it's for the remote purposes there. So I'll make a note, Lindsay, too, to see if there's what we can, to tie that back in to have in-house sound amplification, which is what we need.
Actually, it's more than that. All of you could sit up straight and look out and speak like you're talking to people. Not that you're talking to your neighbor or the person next to you, you are all public figures. Act like it. And the lawyer's nodding his head because he probably heard that speech before.
I've heard this.
What? I'm sorry, what did you just say?
I said, I heard that speech before, I acknowledge it. Sit up straight.
Did you go to private school?
I don't-
Thank you.
There we go.
Jesuits are rolling over in their grave.
Yes,
right
they
now.
are. They might be. All right, thank you, Karen. All right, so that takes us to our resolutions. And the first one on the table is resolution 2022-58. Adoption of a text code amendment to town code chapter 174-19. Can I get a motion?
No.
We're gonna motion it and we're gonna.
Aren't we going to table it?
Table it indefinitely.
Okay, do we need a motion?
Motion to table indefinitely.
Okay.
So moved.
Mark.
So Terry withdrew his motion.
Okay, so Gary, do you want a motion to table it indefinitely?
Yes, I do. The ordinance committee decided that was the best way to go on it, so I'd like to make a motion that we table it indefinitely.
Okay,
And I will second
Adeline
that.
seconds. Okay. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that since it is indefinite? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, resolution is tabled indefinitely. Okay, resolution 2022-088, acceptance of the monthly financial reports.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, resolution carries. 2022-089, budget transfer authorization for 2022 workers' compensation expenditures.
I'll move that resolution.
Okay. Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, resolution carries. 2022-090, authorization for town manager to execute insurance renewal agreements.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So there was a discussion during our finance committee meeting about we're removing the coverage for I guess cyber attacks. And I think there was, I just wanted to make sure people were aware that it apparently the deductible had increased to $25,000 for the deductible.
2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, from 2,000. And I was my understanding that that was not, we weren't spending close to $25,000 on any previous issues. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
So, and that our backup, also my understanding that our current backup system has pretty much covered us in the case of that happening again.
That is correct. Okay. All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? The resolution carries. 2022-091, authorization for town manager to execute contracts for lawn mowing services for the 2022 season.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I want to say, I thought it was great that they broke up the option for cemetery mowing and parks mowing. It gave a great opportunity to allow for more careful care in the cemeteries as opposed to what we're experiencing in other locations. So I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, I know there has been some damage, and there had been some in the past year since stones moved and moved quite a bit when you can see where they had been. So I think this is an excellent move. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. 2022-092, appointment of Finance Committee co-chairs.
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Other than Karen, Karen's not allowed to say anything because she's on there. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution carries. 2022-093, approving agreement extension with Pine Bank Cemetery Board.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? I would add, not a lot of people know that we still have an active cemetery in the town that is doing interments still, and that is a fun fact that not a lot of people know. So hence the agreement with them. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Second. 2022-094, authorization for town manager to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Farmington relating to the position of assessor.
Mhm.
We gotta move.
Second.
We'll move it and then we'll do that.
Okay.
So moved, it's been first,
Mr. Davis, second.
seconded. Okay, there will be some discussion on this. With an amendment to include, because there was discussion at the finance meeting regarding some ambiguity and some things that Farmington wanted to add to the agreement. So we will be sharing an assessor between the town of Canandaigua and the town of Farmington. So the amended resolution will read, now help me Chris, I can find the bottom here.
I have it.
The now therefore be it resolved section will add for services on behalf of the town of Canandaigua of at least 40 hours in the 2-week payroll period, approximately 1,040 hours per year. And the first now therefore be it resolved.
And what that will do is it basically makes sure that each municipality is responsible for paying the assessor for the amount of time that they work, given that, for a 2-week pay period, it would be 40 hours with each municipality. So one municipality is not paying for the work that's done in the other.
Does this change from what Jeff Graff had recommended?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have a copy of whatever the change was, so.
I don't think I can either.
No.
When was this arrived at?
This is what Doug emailed out. I think that's Jeff's. You've seen that.
This
That's
is what
Jeff's
came
suggestion.
from Jeff.
Yeah. And then Adeline is gonna pass you down, all right?
Yeah, I've got that. You showed that one.
This one is what?
This is Doug
Finch's
Finch's recommendation.
So we're not paying him more than 1,040 hours in a calendar year.
Correct.
But he's
No.
salaried. He's not.
Right, but the salary is for 1,040 hours.
Approximately, it says.
The only, I guess, question.
Get a resolution.
There could be a 2-week period where during a rebound, the guy is working for us straight for 2 weeks or Farmington, straight for 2 weeks. I mean, to me, it's, the salary is going to be $80,000 a year, 40,000 from each town. As long as the job gets done.
Right, and
To me, that's.
Yeah, that's where.
And it's what we discussed. It'll work out in the
Overtime
wash.
it will.
Over time,
That's
it'll
right.
work out in the wash, but this is a little bit,
That's it.
a little bit more protection just to make sure that there aren't any gray areas.
Well, as long as it doesn't result in some kind of contested,
Or
you know,
overtime.
if the guy is 2 weeks here and doesn't spend a single day in Farmington.
Right.
There's no overtime
Is somebody
because
gonna
he's
say,
salary.
oh, wait a minute.
So-
we don't have to pay."
Here's why it doesn't bother me either way. You're not allowed to pay somebody by law for time, your municipality can't pay them if they didn't work. So if they get stuck at Farmington and the town of Canandaigua doesn't have a ton of work to do, you're not allowed to pay. So Doug somehow will stop the pay. If they work this whole time for Canandaigua and not for Farmington, you're obligated to pay. So just language doesn't actually have any impact, but it also doesn't bother me because it just defines your already.
So what if you
All
guys-
of that confuses me though, because we're talking about a salaried person,
It's a
not an
salaried person.
hourly position. So why would we, I mean, why are we keeping that track of the hours to take away part of a salary for a period and
I don't
adjust it?
think it,
It doesn't make sense to
the
me.
intent in the discussion was not to
I don't
dock
know.
him,
Yeah,
not to dock time. It was just that it's split and it will work out, but with the agreement originally saying that each municipality will only pay for the amount of time worked by the assessor, created some discussion in our mind that, well, what if it's 29 hours and 11 hours one week, and what if it's, 20 and 20? That might create some issues. That's what the discussion was. It's like, what if it's not an equal split? Then we came to the resolution that it is salaried, so that's really not going to make that much of a difference. It will work out. We didn't feel comfortable adding that, what Jeff had put in there, where
No,
each
me neither.
municipality would only pay for the amount of time that that person worked, which could lead to some imbalance in budgeting as well. So I'm comfortable with the amendment and with how it is going forward with that
As long as the
language
guy
in there.
doesn't get stiff somehow.
No.
Exactly.
I don't see how you can get stiff. is
Well,
why.
but if he's working more up there than here.
Then he has to take PTO.
No,
for
he
hours.
doesn't.
No,
Lindsay, do you have a comment? You look like you might
Well,
have a
there it is,
comment.
Lindsay. there it is, right there.
Can you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to be clear with the board on how this is gonna work out. So, our standard for Paul going into this is that over a 2-week period, he's required to work 40 hours between here and 40 hours between there. He is salaried. His pay is not, it's not gonna be able to fluctuate depending on where he is. Now, we have a timekeeping system, even for our salaried employees, because we're transparent with the hours that we put in. If it becomes an issue where our new assessor is working a lot in Farmington, that becomes a performance issue, which is then taken care of within the town manager's office and then addressed that way. But as far as the legal aspect, there's what Farmington's lawyer proposed. The verbiage is a little bit confusing, but that is to protect each municipality, that there will be fairness with how the hours are distributed.
So, and I agree wholeheartedly with what Lindsay just told you. If we go 2 weeks with season, then he's gonna have to pay PTO for those times, and Farmington's gonna have to figure out less than three. So it will be what I spelling and then.
Why would you do that to the guy? The pay is 80 grand a year. We put up 40, they put up.
So what
40.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
long as
but
the
if he's
job
not
gets-
working for us,
As long as the job gets done.
Yeah.
Everything is signed off on the way it's supposed to be, a reval or whatever. Difference does it?
Lindsay just hit the nail on it. If it becomes a performance issue, then.
But how can
then
it be,
stuff gets addressed.
it
the
might be
job's
that
not
there's
getting-
more work there than there is here. How is that a performance issue?
Well, that may
If the
be,
job here isn't getting done.
So if I can interject, if it's say they're going through a reeval and he's there for 40 hours, then it's a discussion that we have, that he's like, hey, I'm gonna be at Farmington for 2 weeks straight, and then I'll be back at Canandaigua 2 weeks straight.
And
the
you'll
next
do the
time.
same thing here.
Exactly.
So
Because if I
over
just,
time,
it'll work out, and I think it's kind of a nothing burger that's turning
no
into.
PTO though.
Stop,
Yeah.
forget I said that. I'm just trying to put your minds at ease.
Stricken from the
And it
record.
turns out you guys are already at ease with this.
Yeah, we're fine.
Forget I said it.
And just out of clarity,
Better when you just appeared on the screen and did something.
Oh.
we could mute you. Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
Terry, one of these days you're gonna feel that. but other things
That
you
was
say, but-
rough.
I need a gavel.
Yeah.
I need to get a
Hit Terry
gavel.
in the head with that.
So just to clarify, the original statement was trying, hopefully this doesn't muddy the waters. It said originally, in each municipality shall be responsible to pay the salary or wages earned by the assessor for the time the assessor actually works for that municipality and not the other. And instead, it will read that the Canandaigua Town Board hereby authorizes the hiring of Paul Arndt as town assessor part-time to be paid at a rate of $40,000 per year by the town of Canandaigua for services on behalf of the town of Canandaigua of at least 40 hours in a 2-week payroll period, and then 1,040 hours per year. So with transparency and discussion, charting new waters with this position, there will be some learning curves, but I have full faith that it will work out. And at the end of the day, it'll work out for both municipalities.
And this is renewable at the end of the year, so you will learn from
And we'll
any
learn from it, yep.
errors.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Do we have? the resolution?
Terry's about to make it.
Terry,
Thanks for keeping us on track.
Somebody's about to make a motion. to
I'll make a
amend.
motion to amend as was read to us by Jared.
okay. So it's been moved and seconded to amend the resolution. Don't think we need any further discussion, but I will ask for it. Any further discussion?
It's a motion to amend, to approve the amendment, and then you'll do a resolution to adopt the resolution as amended.
So can I get a motion to approve the amendment?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so
I don't like it, but I.
Now you need a motion to
So,
adopt the
can I
resolution.
get a motion to adopt the resolution as amended?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And now we have a teachable moment.
So Gene, do you have that?
I
Do you have that?
Yeah, Gene, that's what I.
Yes, that
Okay,
one,
perfect.
yes.
So
thank you.
going forward, when we've got a sort of planned amendment, instead of making a motion to pass the resolution and then a motion to, we can, the mover can just say, I move to adopt resolution 2022 with the following amendment, following discussion. So then we just have one vote.
Cool. Good deal.
But then we wouldn't have heard from you.
Unless we disagree with the amendment.
Well, you don't vote for the amendment.
Okay,
Okay, moving
Moving
on.
Grumble about it like.
I just
the whole end of the
grumbled,
table down there.
yes, grumbling.
moving on. Erin's shaking her head, so she's hitting herself in the forehead. So it's
I don't
time
think-
to move on.
Karen-
Sitting up straight.
Karen can't hear anything we're saying. anyway,
I'm just wondering if he gets paid to take this abuse.
Not enough, I believe is how that's the correct answer.
All right,
Hmm.
so that takes us to resolution 2022-0995, appointment of the assessor that we have been discussing about previously.
So, second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Be a great addition.
Yes. So what, definitely, he's got some great experience that he will bring to both municipalities. Eager to get going. All right, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. Let's put that one behind us.
Good job.
Okay, 2022-096, acceptance of a quote from Sign Language Incorporated for the design, manufacture, and installation of a new sign for the town hall.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, there is on that one. If you look at the sign in the different appendixes, on the one they have there, they have the address not correct on the sign that you're showing. It says, 5440 Route 5. It should be 5440 Route 5 and 20 West W.
Okay,
Oh, you're in the fire list. I think it, is it, what attachment is it?
Attachment 9.
9.
Okay, so that'll be reflected, Gary.
I'm sorry.
Pointed out. That'll be reflected. Thanks for pointing that out because I missed it as well.
Lindsay, are you responsible for that? Or who's responsible for today?
It should actually be roots with an S, roots 5 and 20. That's my understanding.
Yeah,
Those are
that's
good.
right.
Yeah.
What?
All right, thank you, Gary. All right.
Thanks, Jared.
We don't need an amendment to fix the address.
Trust in Lindsay's good judgment.
Definitely. All right. Any further discussion?
Are we all agreed on the larger size for the signs?
I got it.
I think, okay, I think, so those two signs, the one that was proposed is the larger of the two, so the top of the two signs. Okay, any further discussion on that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. Sign is approved with the fixed address. 2022-097, appointment of Jonathan Noel to the position of motor equipment operator light.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So he doesn't, it's a civil service requirement, does not need a CDL,
Does not need or does not have?
does not need
A
a
CDL.
CDL.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was like a job equipment, like IDL,
He goes in the small
the
corners.
small vehicles. All right, any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, resolution carries. 2022-098, acknowledgement of expenditure category for coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds reporting.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, resolution carries.
Gary's muted.
Gary's muted again. I'm assuming he's a yes.
What are you guys doing to me?
You were muted. Lindsay muted you.
Your presence was missed, Gary.
All right, 2022-099, approval of MRB Group proposal for schematic design of the new transfer station facility.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2022-100, authorize purchase of a new tandem axle trailer.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution carries. 2022-101, approval of MRB Group water system study.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to point out, Jared, that studying our water system is kind of an outgrowth from the original earlier this year, Canandaigua Farmington Water District proposal that came from Farmington to add the tank and transmission line and all that. It brought up a lot of other questions that there weren't answers for. And as the uptown area starts to get built out, there are some questions about our ability to supply water there. So we talked with Craig Hoteling at the Public Works Committee, and we all came to the conclusion it'd be a good idea to really dive in and take a better look at what we have and what we may need to do with respect to that area, as well as the Canandaigua Farmington Water District. That is going to have to be revisited. So
Can I make a sort of add on to that?
Yes, I know you weren't.
Just waiting for somebody to talk about it. I've told this board in the past that I gave you advice about entering into a financing relationship with the town of Farmington without or with an expired intermunicipal agreement. I didn't recommend that. After, I've researched it, I've looked at what you have. I think you can absolutely continue operations under the existing agreement, be it the one written in 1960 something, or as well as your current operating status. That's an agreement between municipalities. You're good to go. Just can't really assume further debt jointly.
So by the time we proceed, we should, when we make it, when we go forward with a project, we will then need to enter into a new agreement.
Well,
By
I
that
think-
time, we'll know what we'll have, and we'll know what they have, we'll know what our projections are for growth. We'll know what we need, and we'll be in a better position to know the role of each municipality.
Exactly.
And the city is also, during the LDC meeting recently, the city is also looking at their infrastructure, water, and they have some serious issues that they have to contend with. They're not using MRB to do that. I can't remember the name of the engineering company is going to do it. Somebody they've worked with in the past. So it really is, I guess we have to thank Farmington for bringing that whole thing up to us, because it's really focusing attention on the overall system. So.
And I know there has been mild discussion at the county level as far as, is this greater than the municipalities, and what can be done to assist through funding grants and other things, because it's that's a significant feed for a lot of the area. All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. 2022-102, appointment of Megan Miller to the Town Environmental Conservation Board. Seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. 2022-103, appointment of John Casey to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 You're here.
Any
Welcome.
opposed?
You're in, Jan.
Resolution carries. All right, no backing out now.
I hope it only lasts through the end of the year.
Well, welcome, John.
Thank you for doing that. 2022-104, authorizing appointment of a clerk part-time for the development office.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. 2022-105, acceptance of an agreement with Finger Lakes Land Trust for snow removal at the Vista Preserve and authorization for town manager to execute agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, resolution carries. Resolution 2022-106, Lincoln Hill Catering Alcoholic Beverages License Notice.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. 2022-107, soil erosion and sediment control surety for the properties, the address is listed on County Road 16.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. 2022-108, acceptance of letter of credit for development of Pierce Brook subdivision section 1.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. 2022-109, Town Board of Canandaigua's position in opposition to any decrease to the farm labor overtime threshold.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
You want to,
Yeah, so this resolution was presented at the county level, and it was passed by the county with a so Fred Lightfoot, who's on the County Board of Supervisors, is also a pretty significant farm operator within our county. And he explained that just the harm that this overtime threshold will do to local farmers, to local costs, and also to the workers. Explaining that what in essence, because coming in farm laborers know that farming is not a 9-to-5 job, and the requirements, you're required to be there when the sun's up, when the weather's good. And a lot of them depend on that extra time and those extra hours. Effectively, what it's going to do is shut down and cap them at 40 hours. There won't be any overtime, and they're already seeing farm workers leaving New York State, going to other surrounding states that don't have that overtime cap. I believe if this stays, it would be New York, Washington, and California are the only 3 states with the overtime cap. So they're already seeing farm laborers move to Ohio, Pennsylvania, up north, any areas where they can work greater hours.
Can you tell me how many working farms we have in this town?
Within the town, we have, so help me out, Gary, you can help me out too. We have Nopes, we have
Purdy.
Millers,
Striker.
we have Strikers, we have Purdy's.
The cash crop farmers, I don't know how many there are.
Okay,
You have Weifels too.
we have
But
Whitefulls, and I know the Days are doing cash crops now that they don't have farms anymore.
You got
So-
some vineyards.
We've got the
Shaws.
vineyards,
We
yeah.
got the dairy.
So when you throw in the vineyards and the orchards, probably, 16, 20-ish.
Yeah, but if you get over 7 acres, you're considered a farm in a sense. So I don't know how many smaller ones there are.
Okay, just.
Okay, all right.
And I will say in my day job, I also encounter a lot of farmers that are faced a lot of hardship from this legislation and they simply can't find workers. They they're watching their crops wither away and not be able to be harvested because they are not able to acquire workers because they're not willing to work it for so much less money every year if it's only in seasonal positions.
Right, and the fact that you throw in the diesel, you throw in the fertilizer and the costs that we're all dealing with.
And it's my understanding too, that I believe this can also even affect family members, like if you're paying family members to work on the farm, yeah.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution carries. All right, approval of the minutes from February 16th, 2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Or changes? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, minister approved. All right, payment of the bills, Jean.
Utility abstract dated March 4th, 2022, totaling $12,205.21. General fund of $8,362.22. Highway fund of $379.03. Water districts of $1,045.76. Custodial funds of $2,418.20. Town board abstract dated March 21st, 2022, totaling $1,722,577.04. General fund of $184,086.92. Highway fund of $240,731.57. Capital projects of $21,062.75. Fire districts of $1,165,000. Lighting districts of $945.15. Water districts of $108,284.55. And custodial funds of $2,466.10.
All right, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the bills?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? All right, bills are approved. Takes us to the almost to the last, the next privilege of the floor. Anybody like to be heard? We have no other business, so one more privilege of the floor. All right.
How do we request privilege of the floor from Zoom?
There, you're all set. We didn't see you hiding back there. Go ahead, Nadia.
Hi, everyone. My name's Nadia Harview. I'm a resident of the town of Canandaigua at 5295 Seneca Point Road. And I understand the town is considering the acquisition for a piece of property at 3950 County Road 16. I'm a longtime resident of the town of Canandaigua. I was raised here, and I've brought my family back here many years ago to raise my family here. Super proud of the work that the town has done to protect land in our area and also the watershed. So I'm also an environmental educator working in water quality, and I've been a longtime volunteer for water quality work, serving 13 years on the town or the CLWA board, and also was formerly an ECB
Seized
member
up?
for the town. Hello?
You're okay.
Okay. So I understand that the property that you guys are looking at includes around 485 feet of Canandaigua Lake shoreline. And I wanted to point out that this is a truly unique waterfront parcel of land. You probably won't find anything else like this anywhere in the Canandaigua Lake watershed at this point. Over 97% of the land, the shoreline property for Canandaigua Lake is privately owned. And so this is a pretty unique opportunity for the town to have some public land secured. So this undeveloped land currently serves as really important natural habitat area, provides important riparian protection through natural filtration of runoff. And it also really helps dissipate the waves from boat traffic from German Brothers Marina and helps prevent shoreline erosion. In the town's comprehensive plan, when I was looking up at the 2021 updates under natural resources, I saw that the #1 measurable goal is number of acres and ecological value of land publicly owned or protected. And the recommended action steps was listed second, permanently protect lands with natural resource significance as a priority and a responsibility of the town board. So I think there's a really great opportunity here for the town board to protect some really unique and ecologically important land. I think that we'll look back at this property acquisition with a sense of pride in the future, that we had the foresight and the wisdom to protect this unique natural area for the benefit of our town, the residents, the health of the lake, and also the long-term protection of the watershed as a whole. So that's all I wanted to say for tonight. And I really support this land acquisition and look to the town to kind of follow what you have put forth in the comprehensive plan for land protection and watershed protection.
All right,
you.
thank you, Nadia. Thank you very much.
Someone have a means by which to contact Ms. Harville.
Oh, yes. All right, any other? All right, so we do have 2 executive sessions. My cheat sheet up here. One is the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, where public discussion could impact the value thereof. And the other one is
Employment history.
of a particular individual. All right, so those are the 2. And we do not expect to take any action after the meeting.
A little bit of action that
There could be, depending on,
based on a recommendation I may or may not be giving.
okay,
No, you're. Maybe I could just write it down and email it to you tomorrow.
Look at Lindsay over there.
Yeah, Lindsay.
I need a motion to go into executive.
All right, can I get a motion?
Whoa.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, so we will now enter executive session.
And I don't, my sister's.
You would like to stay to see if Chris was correct?
Yeah.
Which I don't anticipate.
It's a lunch.
No. Favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, can we get a motion?
Yes.
It's a, can we get a motion to re-enter the board meeting? No, we
So
already
moved.
said we're-
I
we're
motion
back.
to
We
re-enter
do
open
that
session.
by
Yeah.
the exec-
Yeah, we already did that, so thanks for motioning my mistake, Gary.
All right.
I would like to make a motion that the town secure an appraisal for a lakefront property as soon as possible.
And
And you direct the
direct the town manager to execute to do that.
Okay, and direct the town manager to execute that.
Okay. So there's a motion on the table. Can I get a
would make
second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yay.
No.
Okay, so 3-2, motion carries. All right. All right, I think that is it.
I make
So-
a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Third.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Jared, I thought you were trying to.
I thought you were gonna say something again. I'm like,
Oh, I was waiting.
like, again?
You got me so
They
nervous.
should have held up 2 things.
Okay, so we could turn,
So
Night,
that's,
Gary.
good night, Gary.
thank you,
Good
Gary.
night. Good night, everyone.